suffering and would have more problems if I didn't move. I got ready to leave, saved money, packed everything. And then I thought, well, I'll just hang out with my friends one more night, one more party with them. There's only just one more. We drank beer and smoked weed all day, and then I wanted more. I requested my pal, who could get me anything, to get me more. He went away, returned, and gave me this brown rock, similar to sandstone. I think that was early crack cocaine. He explained it, but I only heard the cocaine. So I said, okay, no problem. I crushed and inhaled it. My pal never saw me snort crack, and you can't. He said, you're gonna die. You did enough. It's gonna kill you. I laughed and said, okay, I've done all kinds of drugs and everything, and, nothing has hurt me yet. It only cost me 15. How bad could it hurt me? Remember, I was 19. I knew nothing. I did that, then we had beer outside. We were in the front yard when I got dizzy. I sat down to avoid falling, but that didn't work either. After lying on the grass, I experienced an out-of-body experience. We circled the block in my car with buddies. I was worried when we drove past my parents' house, 4 houses distant. I hid in the car to avoid them. I saw other things. I noticed these small entities in the trees and bushes while everything was glowing. They'd vanished when I turned to look. After that, I woke up on his family room recliner. Now the family room was decorated. For me, it was a terrific party with a loud stereo, seating, and floor space for crashing. So I woke up on the chair and heard my body making sounds. They sounded like a bell, but I could hear each part at the same time. I felt them fading. One by one they left. They were probably 7 or 8. I stopped hearing them. It was quiet. Soon the music was blasting. And I like loud music. I still play The Doors as a rocker. It was too loud for me. Felt like it cut me. It hurt, so I got up. Trying to lower the stereo, I couldn't touch the volume knob. I tried to unhook it, but I couldn't touch the plug either, and it was blasting. I couldn't stand it. No one came when I called my buddies. I tried to search the home for them, but I could see all the rooms by thinking about them and couldn't find anyone. I freaked out and went to the kitchen. I was stuck trying to enter the next room, the family room. I was barely moving. Trying to walk failed. I tried to crawl but failed, but I made it back into the room and saw my body in a chair. If I was scared before, I was scared twice. I was afraid since I remembered what I did and looked in serious danger. I panicked, screamed, and thought, they claim praying works. Why don't I pray? I pleaded, God, I really messed up this time. I really need your help. And then this spirit appeared at the door. He slowed down and seemed to me as a person as he floated, simply his hues and aura. He talked to me and had curly hair and black eyes. Keeping his lips still, he claimed he was there to help me and asked what I wanted to do. I said, well, I want to go outside. I gotta get out of this house. The music stopped and he responded, okay. We were out in the driveway. I don't know how we got out, but I wanted to get out despite not going through the door. I nicknamed the spirit Bob because he needs a name. I can't say my friendly spirit a million times, but he told me he knew everything about me and told me things I never thought about when I was 3 or 4 and never told anyone. He knew about my parents' divorce, which got me into my house. He showed me my amusing Uncle Eddie and other things. He proved it to me even though I never told anyone. He showed me he knew me, so I trusted him. His words, we can go wherever we want to go. Where do you want to go? Startled me. I said, well, I thought of the 7 wonders of the world. Why don't I go see those? Let's do that. He said, well, I can show you some of it. I said, well, what about the pyramids? After that, we were at the pyramids. In Egypt, I saw the pyramids when they were new and now. The cities looked the same to me. I asked him how I could see 2 times at once, and he responded, just how it worked. It's time. He described something I didn't comprehend. Something about planet energy, he said. It's transmission to and from the universe. Something like that. The pyramids contributed to that. I wish I could recall what he said else while we were there. Then we departed. Traveling to Egypt was weird. In an instant, we were there, but when we left Egypt, I wanted to go slow to see everything. I told him I wanted to fly slow, So we got as high as the space shuttle flies and had that view. I saw that the pyramids under the ocean and other natural areas on land and in the oceans have this energy. It was like trading cosmic and terrestrial energies. The universe sends energy to the Earth, which utilizes it and returns it. So we kept flying, and I saw the countries. I could see the land masses with great, colorful, bright energy and darker energies around the cities. I realized we were going to California on the West Coast. I visited those cities, and the US had different vitality than other countries. It was wild. Not like everyone else. Absolutely unique. I saw these lit streets as we continued. We were streaks of light like me and Bob, and we saw other spirits like Bob bringing spirits like me elsewhere. I had no idea where. I saw other souls. I termed them evil souls in my book. I wish I could call them anything else, but I lack a word. They are dead humans who have not reached the light. There are several reasons they wouldn't go to the light. They either didn't know about the light and nobody helped them, or they knew about it but wanted to stay because they were terrified of it. Bob aids spirits like them. After explaining energy, he said spirits like him support spirits like mine. I contemplated it after observing spirit and planet energy. I wanted a new perspective on Earth. I wanted to see the world at once. And I did. This planet had an aura when I viewed it all at once, and it looked great. It was blue like the photographs, but also different hues. Nearby blue turned to reds, greens, and whites. It was stunning. Bob told me Gaia is the planet's name. Humans harm Gaia, he added. We don't get along with her. We weren't treating things appropriately or living in harmony, and it was draining her vitality. I worried about that since it was so lovely, and we weren't respecting it. It worried me. I worried about Earth. Bob stated I was right to worry. I wondered about the stars. What's their tail? He claimed we could see. When he said pick one, I pointed randomly. It looked like a star, but we passed all of our system's planets, which had auras like Gaia's and spirit cities. I could see if spirits lived there. I questioned Bob, how come we can't see those? He responded, well, that's because your vibration isn't high enough. Your vibration is high right now because you don't have a body, and that's how you can see everything. We reached a star. Probably not a star, but it looked like stuff from afar. It circled. It seemed to absorb things like a black hole. However, I saw a sky blue color in the center. On the other hand, I wanted in. That's my destination. Still want to go. Bob said he wants me to be ready for what's there when I go. You must make sure I'm ready first. So I didn't know what to do and wondered, who made this? Everyone says God made it. Is it? He said, well, he says you have a different idea about what God is. What God is actually is the energy of everything. The energy that's in everything. Everything is a part of God. I thought, okay, that makes more sense than the God that's going to punish you or send you to. I asked him, well, okay, I have a wrong idea about God. What about Jesus? He answered, well, Jesus is an ascended master, and there are other masters like him. Then a white light encircled me. I was in the middle of this white light when a figure appeared that looked like the depiction of Jesus I saw at my 2-year Lutheran school. He looked like Jesus, and I felt good. I felt important when I was worth something. He always mentioned one thing to me. He said, tell them to love one another, and all will be well. He went after saying that. And I felt terrific. I felt connected. I saw all planets lined up after he went. All their auras were visible and audible. They were all together and sounded like a bell, just like my body. It wasn't a team, but it was like a team taking the bell. Know how bells work. I heard and watched that and thought, wow, how do I get to see this? It was just so awesome. It was the best thing I ever saw, and it made me feel like I was worth something. I felt like they gave me this. I didn't know what to do afterward. I didn't know where to go, but I know one. We flew past all the planets again and went to this Earth-close area. From there, I could see Earth and souls like Bob and me going there. We arrived at this town square and saw a big house on my left and a big building on my right. After Bob escorted me into the house, I saw one of the 4 rooms and 4 spirits. My presence worried them because I didn't know them. Bob and I left and entered the large building. An illuminated wooden bench stood in the large building. All the wood there shined. The structures were white and framed with wood, and the wood closed for some reason. Double doors appeared on my right. Bob said he had to go in and urged me to sit on the bench. He entered through the two doors. He was there for a while, and while sitting on that bench, I had a déjà vu and saw why. I was sitting there getting ready to discover what I did when Bob came out of the room. Bob said, "It's your turn to go in. Go ahead and go in. Don't be afraid, and be honest if they ask you questions." I enter a cushioned bright wood room. Spirits sat around a horseshoe-shaped table. There are about 6 of them, and I recognized one from when I was there, and I was afraid because I didn't like him. He enforced something. They showed me my life, but not every time I kicked a puppy or something. They showed me what shaped me. They informed me about funny Uncle Eddie, my parents, and how I chose them to aid them and go along with it. I was then confronted with my actions. I came up on the current time, so they were done, and then they asked me, "Did you have a more positive life or a more negative life? What do you think?" I wanted to respond positive because I knew they would let me stay. I tried to keep cheerful, but those beings spoke to me like Bob. It was telepathic, and I considered lying to them. They caught up on that and said, "Well, you have to decide what you're going to do. You could stay here if you want to, or you can go back to the planet if you want to." I wanted to stay. I disputed them. I'd done wrong with that bunch. I was abandoned outside. A white stone seat, flowers, and a river were often in view. I sat alone and thought about, well, can I stay or leave? I must find a method. It was all about me when I thought about it. I wanted to remain okay. Bob came up and asked me what I was doing. I requested to stay. He said, "Well, you gotta think about it first." I asked him, "Well, what's going to happen if I go back?" He said, "You're going to get married soon. Your wife is near. You're going to have children, and one of those children is going to be way different than the others, and I'm supposed to be there for him and the others." He said I'd have job problems, so I've had health problems, and he told me bad things. Still want to stay there. I asked him, "Well, when will I go back?" He answered, "I can't tell you." So I started asking him leading questions like, "Well, where am I going to be living when I die?" That kind of thing. He showed me where I would live, which is where I live now. He also promised me a brown dog. Why he informed me that I ended up with a brown dog is beyond me. He told my life would be hard when I returned. He said, "That's just how it's going to be." Well, why am I thinking about me? What about my kids? What about my wife? I was so far away from getting married that it was unreal, but she was there. And there was somebody there for me, and somebody was going to want me, you know. And I wanted that. So I told him I was going back. He responded, "Well, okay, there's something we have to do." We got up, floated to the river, and he told me it cleanses you of things you can't share. I can't communicate things I don't remember. So we're at the river, and he says the river cleanses you, and then he tells me to share my tail, and he touches my lips, which I believe were my lips. So I said, "Okay." He added, "Well, you have to go in." I dove in the river, emerged, and was back in space. I saw this glitter trail and followed it down to my neighborhood, but I still had to walk to the house. So I'm floating to the house and thinking, well, wow, look what I can do. I can move like this. I can see everything. I can understand stuff. And I thought, well, yeah, there are dark souls out there. And there are souls that will try to waylay you into something. And it could, you could end up being stuck like them. So I did that. I watched the sun rise at home, and the sun made noise. It was lovely. I wanted to share everything with everyone right away because I had new stuff and a new day. When I returned home, I didn't go through the door. I realized I could enter the house through it. I saw my body laying there and didn't want to do it, but I laid on top of it and got into it. I knew I was in my body when I heard a pop sound. I made sure fingers, nose, toes, etc. worked. I was complete like I wished. I got up and started telling my pals right away. I woke them up, bad thing to do, and I started telling them, but they said, "Oh, you're crazy. All you do is overdose on drugs." So I tried to tell more, but they said, "Stop your crazy talk." So I left there, went home, and my stepdad was up. I thought about telling him, but he was getting ready for work, and I don't know if he would listen. When he went, I tried to notify my mother. Mom didn't want to hear. I tried to tell that day. She responded, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know. Okay, well, I'll go tell her and then anybody. People said, oh, you just drunk overdose? You're crazy. And stop your crazy talk. I tried to tell them all day, but nobody listened. After returning home, I fell asleep and had this dream. I thought I was dreaming and a voice was speaking to me. It was predicting my future. He named a friend who will die in a drunk driving accident. Everyone who was dissing me and didn't trust him destroyed my energy. He was heard, not seen, but his voice was different. I said, I don't want to know about any of this stuff, and he left because I didn't know what to do. After 3 months, I saw my pal. I resumed roller skating and hanging out with my childhood buddies after the event. I'm walking to the roller rink when my pal drives up. You want a ride? I answered, sure, I'll take a ride. On the way to the roller rink, he passed a liquor store and bought a fifth of Southern Comfort. He'll drop me off and drink. I urged him as I had before, dude, do not drink that in your car and drive. Go to a party somewhere, go stay there and drink it there. Do not drive. He always remarked, stop your crazy talk. That was his last words to me. 3 hours later, he died. After that, I believed the event was real. I'm convinced. I didn't want to tell. I didn't tell anyone because I was terrified. My wife and I have 4 kids. I told my wife everything before we married. I informed her. She answered, yes, those things happen, and believed me and everything, so she was the first to trust me. I didn't tell anyone else until 1998. But that was it. That was all. Definitely believe it all now. There's no doubt. I couldn't toss away all the knowledge she provided me about energy, what it's for, how to use it, and the experience. It talked about God and energy, that there's a totality of energy. That's my understanding of him. But that was it. In 1998, I shared my experience. It got up on a large near-death experience website after I wrote it down and shared it with someone. Many people read it. I received emails with inquiries, thanks, and more. Each of us writes eyes.